Hello P6 and welcome to Wednesday's maths activities. Now today we're going to get underway with our mental maths question, and for today we're looking at an addition crossword. So to complete our warm-up, at the bottom of the page you have got some clues for your crossword that either go across or that go down. And what I would like you to do today is solve the puzzles at the bottom of the page. And then once you've solved the puzzles, look carefully at the number that it's going to begin at. So if you've worked out 95 add 10, well 95 add 10, that's going to be 105. You need to write your answer in across those three squares, starting from number 1 going across. So you're going to work out your answers for the across clues, for the down clues. Try to work them out in your head. Use your mental math skills. But if you get really stuck, then perhaps use a 100 square to help you out. But that's your warm-up activity for today. Now, today's main activity is all about telling the time. And I know for some of you, this is something you find very straightforward, but some of us find a little bit more difficult. So today, we're going to just go back to the basics and we're going to see what level you are at for today. Let's take a quick look at this analog clock. Analog clocks are clocks that have hands on them. And of course, we know that there are two main hands on a clock. We've got an hour hand. The hour hand is the shorter hand, and it points at the hour, which will be one of these numbers from the 12 back round to the 12. So we've got the hour hand is the short hand, the minute hand is the longer hand. Now at the minute hand is pointing straight up at the 12, and we know of course that means o'clock. So this clock is telling me that the time is 9 o'clock. 9 is the hour, o'clock. If I was to write that in digital time, well, I would say that is 9:00. When I write a digital time, I begin with the hour, and then I say how many minutes after the hour that time is. So that time would be 9:00 if I wrote it in digital time. Now, if I start to move the minute hand, then what we should see, look at the red hand. Can you see that the red hand is also moving as I move the minute hand around? In analog time, as the hour goes round, the hour hand moves as well. So we've now moved round as far as 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Now, if I was to add on a couple of minutes, if I was to move my minute hand on round to there, well, the minute hand is now covering the number 1. How many minutes after the hour have I gone? Well, that's those little individual dots around the side. When the minute hand is sitting over the top of the 1, it's 5 past. So it's 5 past 10, 5 past 10. If I added on another 5 minutes, then it would be 10 past 10. What do I say when I get to 15 minutes past? Yeah, it's quarter past, isn't it? Quarter past 10, 20 past 10, 25 past 10. When I get halfway round from the 12 round to the 6, we say half past. And take a look at the hour hand. Can you see that the hour hand has moved now quite a bit away from the 10? It's now about halfway between 10 and 11. Then I get to my times going back to the hour. So at this point, I would say the time is 25 to 11 because it is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes until this red hand gets round to the 11. So 25 to, 22, quarter to, 10 to, 5 to, 11 o'clock. Now, if you're somebody who finds telling the time quite tricky, then I would like you today to concentrate on telling the time to o'clock, quarter past, half past, and quarter to. Those are the times that I want you to concentrate on today. If you aren't too bad at having a go at telling the time, then today I want you to concentrate on times like 5 past, 10 past, quarter, 20, 25 past, 25 to, 22, quarter to, 10 to, 5 to. So I want you to concentrate on the 5-minute intervals. If you're somebody who finds it relatively easy to tell the time, then today I want you to concentrate on telling the time in 1-minute intervals. So for example, if I put the time at 1:15 and then added on just 1 more minute, Well, I would say that that time is 16 minutes past 1, or I could say it is 1:16. Now, to help us out today, I want you to go to Education City P6. And when you go to Education City, I want you to open up the time topic tool. And on the time topic tool, you will be presented with a clock. Now, when it first opens up, it's going to open up with a clock that shows you what the current time is. But I want you to change that clock for me. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to click on these 3 lines. And when you click on these 3 lines, at the minute it says it's showing me the current time. So I'm going to turn that off. So it's taken away the second hand. The next thing I want you to do, go back to those 3 lines, and I want you to change it on to showing me 2 clocks at a time. Now, when it's showing me 2 clocks at a time, at the minute it's showing me 2 analog clocks. I'm going to change the second clock into a digital clock. So I'm going to click on the digital symbol here, and that's going to change that clock into a digital clock. And I also, tomorrow we'll worry about what 12-hour and 24-hour clock are. We'll not worry about that for today. I'm going to change that back to what's called a 12-hour clock. So at the minute, I could say that the time is 2 minutes past 3 o'clock. Oh, now 3 minutes past 3 o'clock. And the digital time is showing me the hour, first of all. So the hour is 3. That's the hour I've just gone past, and it's 3 minutes after 3. Now, by using these arrow keys at the bottom, I can make some random times. So if I was to click on that one, well, it gives me a random time. 6:33, there's 5:16, 7:20, 5:08. But what it's doing is it's giving me a random time, but it's also matching up the times on the clocks for me. So both clocks are showing me the same time. Now, if, however, I click on that button in the middle, what I can now do is I can change the hands on this clock, and then I can see if I can work out an equivalent digital time. So what if I took the minute hand and I pulled it on round and I put it there? Well, if you're one of the people who finds telling the time relatively easy, you'll know that, well, the hour is still going to be 5, but how many minutes after 5 have I gone? Well, I've gone 5, 10, 15, 16, 17. So I need to change this time to be 5:17. What if I changed the time and I took my minute hand on round and I put it right there? What would that time show me? Well, the hour that I've gone past is 5. So my digital time is going to begin with 5. How many minutes after 5 is it? It's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So that time in digital time would be, takes a moment, would be 5:45. Another way of saying that time, can you think of another way to say that time? I could say 5:45. Yeah, it's 5:45, isn't it? 5:45 when we're pointing at the 9, and the hour we're coming up to is 6. Now, P6, I want you to use this topic tool today to do a bit of practice. As I say, if you're somebody who finds telling the time hard, then the sort of times I want you to concentrate are things like 1/4 past, 1/2 past, 1/4 and o'clock. If you're reasonably good at telling the time, practice in your 5-minute intervals, so 5 past, 10 past, and so on. So pointing at the numbers on the clock. If you're good at telling the time, practice looking at those 1-minute intervals. So that time, for example, would be 2 minutes to 3 or 2:58. Now, also in Education City today, you have got 2 other activities that you can have a look at called Wakey Wakey and Snoozing Time. But then I want you to download today's written activity. And for today's written activity, you're going to choose one of 3 levels to have a look at. If you choose the lower level activity, then your activity for today uses those 1/4 pasts, 1/2 pasts, 1/4 and o'clock times. So the first activity that you've got, I want you to look at the digital times and I want you to use a ruler and draw the hands on these clocks to match the digital time underneath it. Now, what's really important, if you were doing the first time and it says 8:30, well, 8:30, the hour hand has to be after the 8. So I'm thinking using my clock, and you could use your Education City clock to help you. There's 8 o'clock. 30 minutes later is going to be that time. So if I was drawing 8:30, I need to make sure my long hand is pointing right down at the 6. It should be covering the 6. My shorter hand, it's about halfway between the 8 and the 9. Don't draw it pointing straight at the 8. It won't be right. The hour hand is about halfway between the 8 and the 9. So make sure that's what you draw. So have a go at drawing the times onto these clocks. Use a ruler and start at the centre dot. For your second challenge, it's the other way around. You've been given the time on an analogue clock. Can you change it back into a digital time? That's the lower level. If you choose the middle level activities, then your times are all in those groups of 5 minutes. So anything from 5 past, 10 past, 15 minutes past, and so on, right way around to 55. So same idea, draw the hands on the clocks and then write the digital times to match those analogue clocks. If you've chosen the hardest level for today, then today your times are to the nearest minute. So on the first one, if you're given the time 3:47, so let's find 3 o'clock first of all. So there's 3 o'clock, 3:47, so there's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 47 minutes. That's what I'm going to be drawing on for my very first clock. So 3:47, and then can you change those analogue times into digital times? And P6, if you get all of that done, have a go at today's reasoning activity. But most importantly, P6, this is a really important life skill. Being able to tell the time without having to think about it is something that's really important. So if this is something that you find tricky, please, please, please keep practicing this at home. And don't forget to wear your watch.